Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. When God hides you, don't beg to be seen. Let that sink in. Because some men aren't being rejected by people, they're being protected by God, especially Sigma males, the quiet ones, the hard to read ones. The ones who can walk into a room and silently trigger every insecure soul without saying a word. Now here's a fact most people don't want to hear. 85% of manipulation happens in silence, through charm, flattery, guilt trips and fake connection. Sigma males, they're immune to that language, and that immunity makes them dangerous to the wrong crowd. So why does it feel like the world keeps its distance from them? Why do snakes never slide into their DMs? And why do drama-filled people bounce off them like mosquitoes hitting a windshield? Simple. God doesn't let his most tactical soldiers play in spiritual minefields. He builds them different, hides them in plain sight, and shields them from the chaos. Not because they're weak, but because he knows their power is too costly to be wasted on clowns. And let's be honest, a Sigma male surrounded by gossiping, manipulative people would be like Einstein stuck at a kindergarten talent show, painful for everyone involved. So buckle up. What you're about to hear isn't motivational fluff or recycled advice. It's 11 raw, unfiltered, and brutally honest signs that God himself is shielding Sigma males from evil people. And not only will it all finally make sense, it'll make you realize that isolation, it was divine strategy all along. And number one, they are earthly watchmen, and watchmen don't live in the village. Some people are born to live in the center of the crowd. Sigma males are not those people. They're built to operate from the sidelines, the shadows, or the higher ground, anywhere but the noise. And it's not because they're antisocial or disconnected from reality, it's because they're wired to see things others miss. Their distance is not a flaw, it's their assignment. They're watchmen, and watchmen don't live in the middle of the village. They're positioned on the outskirts, quietly observing, analyzing, sensing danger before anyone else even feels the shift. That kind of role requires extreme clarity, and God knows it. That's why he doesn't allow Sigma males to get tangled in meaningless drama or get too comfortable in social circles filled with noise, fake loyalty, or spiritual confusion. He shields them, not just from evil people, but from environments that would cloud their vision. The worst thing for a Sigma male is not to be attacked, it's to be distracted. So God isolates them, filters their access, and reroutes them before the poison can even reach their doorstep. You'll notice how certain people just fall off. No big argument, no dramatic exit, just silence. That's not coincidence. That's divine security kicking in. Because the moment a Sigma male begins to form a bond with someone who doesn't align with their mission, God ends the conversation. Why? Because Sigma males don't need 100 friends. They need 100% focus. They're designed to see from above, not blend into the crowd like wallpaper. The truth is, a lot of Sigma males were never meant to be understood by the average person. Their silence offends the insecure. Their boundaries frustrate the manipulative. And their clarity scares the ones who live behind masks. God knows this, and he doesn't just step in. He builds a firewall around them. He separates them, not to punish them, but to preserve the calling on their life. Evil people can't get near them because they would either water them down or burn them out. So when a Sigma male finds himself alone again, disconnected again, or misunderstood again, it's not failure. It's divine positioning. God never puts a watchman in the village square. He puts him on the wall, because that's where the vision is clear, the noise is gone, and the mission can't be compromised. Number two, they carry the weight of the unseen battlefields. Sigma males walk around like everyone else, but what they carry isn't normal. They move through life calm on the outside, but internally they're constantly scanning, feeling, reading the unseen. They pick up tension in the air that others laugh off. They sense energy shifts, spot emotional traps, and detect manipulation in conversations that seem harmless on the surface. Most people don't even realize a war is happening behind the scenes. Sigma males do. They were built for it. And because they're wired to see beneath the surface, they also absorb the weight that comes with that vision. It's not always glamorous. They don't get applause for staying silent when they could expose someone. They don't get credit for walking away from situations that would have wrecked someone else, but they do it anyway. Because deep down, they know they're part of a bigger plan, and that plan doesn't leave room for ego, attention, or comfort. God doesn't pick just anyone to carry this kind of weight. It's not about being better than others. It's about being prepared for battles that can't be won through charm or charisma. These men don't need to fight with swords. They fight with clarity, boundaries, discipline, and spiritual awareness. That makes them a threat to every system built on deception. So God keeps them guarded, not babied, not isolated for no reason, but guarded from distractions, fake alliances, and emotional leeches. You'll notice something. Chaos rarely sticks to them for long. Toxic people lose interest fast. They might try to get close, but it never lasts. That's not just wisdom, it's divine protection. God shields them not because they're fragile, but because they're valuable. They're too critical to the mission to be derailed by nonsense. This is why they often feel like they're walking alone through life while everyone else is partying in denial. They're not cursed, they're deployed. God doesn't waste warriors, and Sigma males weren't designed for decoration. They're the ones who walk into the unseen fight, silently hold the line, and carry weight that would crush most people. And they do it without a crowd, without a cheer, and without needing to explain it to anyone. Number 3, they're wired to trigger demons, not befriend them. Sigma males don't have to raise their voice to make the wrong people uncomfortable. They just exist, and suddenly the masks start slipping. The fake smiles tighten. The overly confident ones start fidgeting. Manipulators sense it instantly. This one sees through the games, and they hate that. Because Sigma males don't fall for charm, they don't feed egos, and they don't respond to emotional bait. That makes them spiritual landmines to anyone running on manipulation, control, or hidden agendas. This is exactly why God doesn't let just anyone near them. He knows their energy stirs the room. Their silence alone can make the wrong soul feel exposed. They don't need to call out the darkness, it just panics when they walk in. And so instead of letting them be surrounded by people who would drain, twist, or provoke them, God simply keeps the table empty. Not forever, but long enough to make sure it's not filled with snakes in disguise. And yes, it gets lonely. There are days when it feels like everyone else has their circle, their crowd, their support system. Meanwhile, the Sigma male is left with space, silence, and the same empty seat at the table. But that seat is empty for a reason. Because not everyone is qualified to sit with someone who was wired to confront what others enable. God's not being unfair, he's being surgical. The truth is, Sigma males weren't designed to blend in with the crowd or play social politics. They were designed to be disruptors, not by force, but by presence. Just being real, grounded, and immune to BS is enough to make dark energy squirm. And God knows that when these men are around fake people for too long, tension builds, conflict follows, and the whole atmosphere shifts. So rather than have them constantly battling toxic energy, he cuts it off before it gets in. It's not rejection, it's redirection. And sometimes protection looks like sitting alone with peace rather than sitting with a table full of smiling enemies. God knows the assignment. Sigma males don't need more friends. They need fewer distractions. They're wired to rattle spirits, not comfort them. That's why God keeps certain people far, far away. Number 4, they refuse to worship the social gods, and that's a threat. Sigma males don't kneel to society's golden calves. They don't care about viral trends, hollow clout, or who's wearing what to impress who. They don't fake smiles to climb social ladders or shrink themselves to fit in with crowds that worship popularity over principles. And that's exactly what makes them dangerous to corrupt systems. Because evil doesn't just thrive on chaos, it thrives on conformity. It needs everyone looking the same, thinking the same, wanting the same empty things. Sigma males, they burn that whole setup down just by refusing to participate. When a man walks around completely uninterested in external validation, you can bet he's going to offend every insecure soul in the room, and you can bet the system sees him as a threat. Because if he's not chasing status, what controls him? If he's not desperate to be accepted, how do you manipulate him? If he doesn't care about looking good in public, how do you use shame to silence him? You don't. That's why society can't handle Sigma males, and that's why God keeps them off the grid. God knows these men were never meant to worship idols, whether it's fame, groupthink, or fake morality paraded around for likes. They walk their own path. Not because they're rebels without a cause, but because they know the cause. They know when something's real and when something's just painted up to look righteous on the surface, but is rotten underneath. Evil hates that clarity. It hates men who don't buy into illusions. So rather than let Sigma males get trapped in environments that demand spiritual compromise, God removes them entirely. From jobs, from friendships, from platforms, from relationships that are coated in virtue signaling but hollow on the inside. The disconnection isn't punishment, it's protection. These men don't just resist the worship of social gods, they expose how shallow that worship really is. Their presence makes people question their own motives. Their detachment reveals how many others are addicted to the performance. And that's the last thing a corrupted system wants. Someone who walks through the noise, unmoved, uninterested, and unshaken. So when a Sigma male feels cut off from certain people, scenes, or opportunities, it's not because he's missing out. It's because God's making sure his clarity doesn't get diluted by a world that thrives on distraction and demands submission. Number 5, they have dangerous access to truth, so God keeps the liars away. There's something terrifying about a man who sees too clearly and speaks too little. That's a Sigma male. He doesn't need to pry, investigate, or snoop. He just knows. His brain doesn't buy narratives. He doesn't fall for surface-level smiles or catchy slogans. He sees through things, people, systems, stories, and stores those observations like a vault of silent receipts. And that right there is why liars, manipulators, and fake people can't stand to be near him for long. They might not even know why, but something in them panics. Because they can feel it, this man sees through the act. Sigma males aren't loud about it either. They won't always call out the lie. They don't need to. Their energy alone makes deceivers fidget. Their calm stare feels like a mirror, reflecting everything someone's trying to hide. And because they don't engage in fake flattery or pretend not to notice the obvious, liars feel exposed even in silence. That's not just intuition, it's spiritual discernment. And it's lethal to anyone trying to manipulate the narrative. That kind of presence can't be around just anyone, God knows that. Because while the Sigma male might have the restraint to keep quiet, the truth still leaks through his energy, his decisions, his unwillingness to play along, and that silent honesty is enough to either wake someone up or push them into full defense mode. That's why God steps in and reroutes the deceivers before they even get the chance to twist, gaslight, or pretend. The conflict doesn't happen because the encounter never does. It's not luck that the snakes miss them, it's strategy. God knows that liars don't just fear being exposed, they fear being decoded. And Sigma males don't just decode lies, they store them, dissect them, and use them to move with precision. That kind of mental access is dangerous in a world built on illusion. So God doesn't let those illusions stick around. He breaks connections, ends conversations, or creates just enough discomfort to make the deceiver flee first. People may call it cold. Others may say Sigma males are hard to connect with. But the truth is, they're not designed for shallow bonding. They're carriers of truth, and truth doesn't do well in rooms full of denial. God isn't isolating them. He's insulating them. Because when your presence alone disrupts deception, silence becomes the sharpest weapon you'll ever carry. Number 6, they're built for legacy, not popularity, which offends the superficial. Sigma males don't play the popularity game because they're too busy building things that actually matter. Their mind isn't cluttered with likes, follows, or public approval. It's focused on legacy, on impact, on substance. And that mindset is like garlic to a superficial crowd. Because when someone walks into a room completely uninterested in being seen, yet somehow still commands respect, it rattles every person who relies on attention to feel valuable. That's why they get labeled as arrogant, distant, or too serious. But really, it's just insecurity, being offended by depth. God doesn't waste time letting Sigma males get tangled in those empty spaces. He filters them out, quietly, quickly, and often without warning. Suddenly, the invitation doesn't come. The crowd loses interest. The texts stop. But it's not rejection, it's divine filtration. Because popularity chasers are spiritual distractions. They demand constant validation, and Sigma males simply don't have the bandwidth to babysit egos or play the social hamster wheel game. They'd rather invest their time in something that'll outlive them than be the center of someone else's Instagram story. This is why you'll see them walk away from parties, step back from platforms, or stay completely off the radar while everyone else is chasing visibility. It's not shyness, it's intention. They know that the louder the crowd, the easier it is to lose focus, and they're not here to impress, they're here to build. That kind of thinking terrifies shallow people, because when you don't need attention, You expose the ones who are addicted to it. God steps in and makes sure those two worlds don't collide. Not because Sigma males are too good for others, but because their wiring is too rare to be wasted in spaces that demand performance over purpose. He knows that legacy doesn't happen in popularity contests. It happens in silence, in strategy, in solitude. So he surrounds them with time, vision, and peace, while removing anything or anyone that tries to drain that. They're not cold. They're just not hungry for crumbs. And that offends people who've built their whole identity around being seen. But God didn't design Sigma males to be seen everywhere. He designed them to be felt forever. That's why their circle is small, their presence is heavy, and their impact is generational. Number 7, they attract imitators, not allies. So God filters the fakes early. Being a Sigma male is like walking around with a blueprint that everyone wants to steal but no one understands. People don't come close because they truly respect the man. They come close because they want to decode him. They study him like a puzzle. They mimic his silence, his confidence, his ability to walk alone without folding. But they don't want to learn from it. They want to copy it. And the problem with imitation is it always starts in admiration and ends in betrayal. That's why God doesn't let it get far. Fake allies are the most dangerous kind. They don't attack from the front. They linger, they flatter, they pretend to connect. And all the while, they're scanning for weaknesses, trying to extract what makes the Sigma male so centered, so magnetic, so untouchable. But here's the thing, they can never replicate the source. Because what drives a Sigma male isn't aesthetic, trend, or technique, it's soul, scars, and purpose. That can't be copied. And God knows that letting too many imitators get too close only leads to sabotage masked as friendship. So what does he do? He filters early. You'll see the fakes lose interest fast. They might hang around for a little while, trying to mimic the vibe, but soon they get frustrated. Why? Because they realize it's not something you can study. It's something you are. And when the act can't be sustained, the mask falls. That's divine protection in action. God doesn't just remove threats, he exposes them first. So the Sigma male knows exactly what he's dealing with. This is also why Sigma males often go through phases where people suddenly ghost, switch up, or start acting weird without explanation. It's not a glitch, it's a purge. God's removing anyone who showed up with fake support but secret agendas. Because real allies don't compete, they don't imitate, they complement. And until that kind of rare alignment shows up, the circle stays tight and quiet. Attracting imitators is the burden of being original, but God makes sure the imitation game ends early, not to punish the Sigma, but to preserve the real thing. Because the last thing he'll allow is a man he wired with depth, vision, and authenticity to be diluted by people who only want to wear the image without carrying the weight. Number 8, they can see through people too fast, which terrifies evil. A Sigma male doesn't need time to figure someone out, he just needs a moment. That's how sharp his discernment is. It's not a vibe check, it's not paranoia, it's spiritual precision. He can sit in a room, hear a few words, catch a slight change in tone, and his internal radar already knows what's going on. It's unnerving to the average manipulator, but to truly evil people, it's terrifying because they rely on one thing to function: deception. And when deception doesn't work, the game is already lost. You can't seduce, trick, or play a man who sees through your mask before you even put it on properly. Sigma males pick up on things most people miss. The fake enthusiasm, the overly rehearsed sob stories, the subtle power plays, hiding behind kind gestures. Their minds don't get distracted by the performance. They track energy, intent, and what isn't being said. That's what makes them so hard to fool and so dangerous to anyone trying to manipulate outcomes. But here's where it gets deeper. God didn't give them that kind of discernment just to be wise. He gave it to protect. And he doesn't let that gift get wasted in long, drawn-out battles with toxic people. That's why the encounters are brief. That's why situations get cut short before they turn into soul traps. That's why sometimes people just disappear, situations suddenly collapse, or a connection fizzles out before it even begins. It's not bad luck, it's God stepping in early because he sees what's coming, and he trusts the Sigma male's radar enough to reinforce it with divine boundaries. People think the Sigma is paranoid, but what they call distrust is really early detection. He sees what they're trying to hide, and evil can't stand that. It's like trying to play poker with someone who already knows your hand. That's why evil avoids them. And that's why God makes sure evil never gets the time or space to twist anything around him. It's not that Sigma males are cold or antisocial, they just don't have time to play along with false fronts. Their gift is surgical, clean, and deadly to deception. So when something feels off and a door suddenly slams shut, it's not rejection, it's heaven, pulling the plug before hell even gets a chance to speak. Number 9, they're masters of delayed power, so premature battles are avoided. Sigma males carry an energy that's slow-burning but fierce, a power that doesn't need to roar every day to be felt. They're like dragons curled up, conserving strength, waiting for the right moment to unleash devastation. It's not weakness or passivity, it's strategic patience. And God understands this better than anyone. He knows that their full force is reserved for battles that actually matter, not every petty skirmish that crosses their path. Because of that, God steps in and buffers them from the daily nonsense, the jealous stabs, the office politics, the shallow provocations that would normally drain most people. Instead of letting Sigma males get sucked into these low-level fights, he keeps the noise at arm's length, preserving their energy and focus. It's like a divine safety net that ensures their power isn't diluted by distractions or wasted on battles with no real consequence. The world loves to throw challenges at people who look strong, expecting them to react immediately and emotionally. But Sigma males don't operate that way. They watch, they assess, and they bide their time. Their silence isn't surrender, it's preparation. God respects that restraint and protects them accordingly. He knows that when the real war arrives, this sleeping dragon will awaken with a force that leaves no doubt who's in charge. This is why Sigma males often seem unbothered or indifferent to conflict, because they already know which fights aren't worth their energy. They refuse to waste their power on noise that won't move the needle. And because of this, the universe respects their boundaries. God won't allow them to be cornered prematurely. He knows it would only diminish the impact of their eventual roar. When the time is right, the Sigma male will strike with precision, intensity, and a force that demands attention. Until then, God keeps the minor battles at bay, allowing them to grow in silence, strength, and purpose. It's a divine play of timing and power, one that keeps the Sigma male untouchable until the moment they're meant to be unstoppable. Number 10, their energy is spiritually loud, so it repels the wicked. Sigma males carry an energy that's impossible to ignore, but not because they're loud in the usual sense. It's not about flashy charisma or trying to be the center of attention. Their presence hits on a deeper level, a spiritual frequency that vibrates with pure conviction. It's like an invisible force field, radiating a kind of quiet intensity that pushes away anything toxic or wicked without needing to say a word. This energy isn't about charm or small talk, it's rooted in something far heavier, unyielding principles, fierce integrity, and a clear sense of purpose that refuses to bend or break. People with malicious intent don't just sense it, they feel exposed by it. It makes them uncomfortable, nervous, even defensive, because they know this kind of energy isn't fooled or swayed. It's a living barrier to manipulation, lies, and chaos. God wired Sigma males this way on purpose. It's a built-in shield designed to protect them from having to waste time and energy on constant battles. When their energy is that loud spiritually, evil simply can't find a foothold. It gets repelled naturally, like oil and water refusing to mix. This means Sigma males don't have to raise their voices or pick fights to keep negativity away. Sometimes just being themselves is enough to keep the worst at bay. This kind of spiritual volume also means Sigma males aren't easily swayed or corrupted. Their energy signals that they've got a core unbreakable by petty drama or manipulation, and that kind of strength can make the wicked run for cover before a single word is spoken. God uses this spiritual loudness like a silent alarm, keeping the wrong people from wasting their time or energy trying to bring down someone they can't touch. In a world where noise often equals power, Sigma males prove that true power is the kind that resonates beneath the surface, bold, unshakable, and loud enough to repel evil without lifting a finger. That's not just presence, that's divine design. Number 11, they don't need validation, so narcissists starve near them. Sigma males are built like fortresses that don't crack under pressure, and one of their strongest walls is their total independence from validation. They don't crave approval, compliments, or pats on the back. They don't scroll for likes, nor do they perform for applause. That absence of need, it's a nightmare for narcissists and manipulators who feed on control, flattery, and codependency. To them, a Sigma male is like a desert where nothing grows, a spiritual wasteland where their toxic tactics wither and die. Manipulators rely on reactions. They need their targets to seek their approval, to hang on their every word, to bend just enough to keep the illusion of control alive. But Sigma males offer nothing of the sort. Their inner validation comes from a place so deep, so self-contained, that it cannot be reached or triggered by superficial games. That leaves narcissists starving and desperate, clawing for scraps of influence they'll never get. God doesn't just allow this boundary to stand, He amplifies it. There's a divine silence that surrounds Sigma males, a quiet power that drowns out the noise of manipulation. It's not about being cold or detached, it's about an unshakable confidence that says, I don't need you, your tricks won't work here. That silence speaks volumes. It's a spiritual lock that seals the door on toxic energy before it even tries to enter. This boundary creates a natural filter, keeping energy vampires at bay without a single confrontation. Narcissists quickly realize they're outmatched, not by force, but by a refusal to engage on their terms. It's like trying to play chess with someone who doesn't care about winning or losing. They simply don't play the game. In a world where so many people live for external validation, Sigma males stand apart as beacons of self-sufficiency. That alone repels the wicked because it breaks their cycle of control. God's shielding here is brutal but beautiful. Those who thrive on manipulation find no footing, and the Sigma male remains untouched, unshaken, and unapologetically free. Number 12. They ask the questions evil doesn't want answered. Sigma males have a habit that unnerves the darkest corners of the world. They ask questions nobody dares to ask, not just the casual why, but the deep, unsettling ones that expose hidden agendas and break down carefully crafted lies. They challenge everything. Why do people blindly obey? Who wrote the rules that keep us all in line? Why accept because that's how it's always been as an answer? These aren't just philosophical musings, they're intellectual torches that burn through illusions, exposing the skeletons that evil desperately tries to keep hidden. Evil hates questions because they force it to reveal itself. When a Sigma male interrogates the accepted narrative, the fake morals, or the unquestioned loyalties, he strips away the comfortable masks people wear. That's terrifying for those who manipulate and control from the shadows. They prefer silence, compliance, and blind obedience. They crave followers, not questioners. A Sigma male disrupts their whole operation simply by thinking out loud and refusing to accept answers that don't hold water. God uses this curiosity like a weapon, sharpening it beyond the reach of the mental prisons that trap so many others. While most people fall into the comforting patterns of society's rules, Sigma males refuse to be confined by those invisible walls. Their minds are wired to probe, to push boundaries, to tear down mental cages others don't even realize they're in. This relentless questioning is a form of spiritual resistance that evil can't tolerate, so God protects these men by steering them away from the traps designed to silence or break them. This means Sigma males often find themselves walking paths alone because their questions unsettle the masses. But that solitude is a shield, not a punishment. It's the space where truth can thrive, free from the noise of herd mentality. Their questions don't just seek answers, they dismantle the very foundations of control. In the end, the Sigma male's curiosity isn't just a trait, it's a divine shield. It scares off darkness, breaks through mental chains, and keeps the light of independent thought burning bright. That's why God keeps these questioners out of prisons, both physical and mental, because their freedom to ask is a threat to evil's empire of silence. In a world crowded with noise, deception, and relentless chaos, Sigma males stand as silent sentinels, guarded by a divine shield few can see but everyone feels. Their unique design isn't just about surviving life's battles, it's about transcending the toxic traps that consume most. God's protection isn't random, it's deliberate, strategic, and profound. It's a fortress built from silence, truth, conviction, and an unyielding refusal to play by the corrupt rules. This shield doesn't just keep evil at bay, it turns Sigma males into living paradoxes, powerful yet unseen, untouchable yet deeply impactful. They're the quiet disruptors who unsettle the wicked simply by being themselves, proving that true strength doesn't scream for attention, it commands it. So when you see a Sigma male walking his path alone, remember this. He's not isolated by chance or weakness, but by a higher power's extraordinary design, safeguarding a rare kind of warrior who fights battles the world can't even understand. And that's nothing short of magnificent. If this message hit you with the kind of clarity that shakes things up, don't just scroll past. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss the kind of real talk that cuts through the noise. Like what you heard? Smash that like button like it owes you money. Got thoughts, questions, or your own Sigma stories? Drop them in the comments. Let's make this a space where truth gets spoken loud and clear. And hey, if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them, because powerful insights like these are meant to be passed on, not kept quiet. Stay sharp, stay real, and let's keep leveling up together.